Hey, this is Kyle here, and today I'll be reviewing The Slow Regard of Silent Things by Patrick Rothfuss. This is kind of a standalone novella for his Kingkiller Chronicles, and specifically focuses on the character Ari. If you're not familiar with the series, if you haven't read it, honestly, this is probably not the book for you, and I've even seen a couple interviews by the author who basically talks about, like, if you've read this series, you'll probably enjoy this book. If you haven't read this series, this is a really bad place to start. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Kingkiller Chronicles. I enjoyed the first two books so much that I think I was naturally predisposed to enjoy this book, and I did. But it's not your typical book amongst the series. You know, there's not really much of a plot. It's more of a character study. And I really enjoy that because Ari is a character in the series that I think a lot of people really love a lot. I do. You find it very interesting, but you really don't know hardly anything about her. And just by the nature of her character, the way the series is playing out, I don't think you would ever really learn too much about her. She's just kind of there, but learning what her thoughts are, what her motivations are, what her life is like, you're probably not going to learn in the natural progression of the plot of this series. So a novella like this that kind of just explores her character and what her motivations are, what she's like, what her life is like, is something we would never get in the series. I'm glad we got to explore this character more. In fact, one thing I was thinking when I was reading this book is, like, I wish some other authors who do some series who have some side characters who don't necessarily make sense to have maybe a standalone novel or a new series about, would maybe consider doing some kind of like these character studies, little novellas like this where you get to know the character just in the course of their everyday life, not necessarily having to worry about coming up with some huge plot that would make it worthwhile to write a book about. I think sometimes just getting to know a character better is worth it. You don't necessarily have to have this huge plot. But basically the concept behind this book is we are with Ari for 7 days in her home living beneath the university, and she's the only individual in this story. We don't really interact with any other characters from this series, so if you're hoping for some of those other pop-up, that's not this book. This is all about Ari and how she interacts with her home underneath the university. Like I said, we really kind of get a great feeling of how her mind works. The part of this book I enjoyed a lot, and I know from other reviews I've seen, I think a lot of people have also really gravitated towards, is we see how Ari interacts with these inanimate objects, which we've already got a sense from the Kingkiller Chronicles, the first two books, that she views just like all objects as living things that have their own place, they're capable of thoughts and stuff. She interacts with like a leaf the same way she would interact with a human. And we see this very much in this book, where everything she comes across, she interacts like it's its own living thing. It has a purpose, desires, likes and dislikes, and is absolutely fascinating. She develops relationships with these objects that she finds that, I would say honestly, in some other books, characters, like main characters don't have as good a relationships with other main characters in the book as Ari does with these inanimate objects in this book. There's some actually beautiful relationships with, like, her and a broken gear, or her and a blanket. It's absolutely amazing how this author is able to get you to care about these relationships between her and just a random object. But you feel like you're really invested in how Ari views the world around her, and it really makes you identify much more with her character, I think, you would for the natural development of the plot in the overall series. So I think, honestly, again, I would kind of like to see this done with other authors in their series. And I'm hoping, when we get the third book of the Kingkiller Chronicles, that I think we'll identify even more with Ari because of what we learned in this book. So I definitely, if you've enjoyed the Kingkiller Chronicles and if you haven't read The Slow Regard of Silent Things, I think you'll really enjoy this book a lot, and I would definitely recommend it. So let me know, what is a series you would like to see an author maybe do some standalone, like, character explorations of, much like this book. Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this review, please hit that like button. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate the support. Thanks for watching. I'll see you the next time, and happy reading.